Hi friends, it's May 13th, Wednesday. We're on the downslope of our Easter time cross hunt. Now we have today and tomorrow for our cross hunt, and then I'm going to take a few days off, and Tuesday of next week I'll be back with a new set of daily meditations. Now I need to hear from you guys as to what you may want me to talk about. There's lots of options. We can talk about more about poetry, religious poetry, poetry in the Christian tradition, all kinds of things. Biblical characters, books in the Bible, books left out of the Bible, also called the Apocrypha. There's several Gospels that were not included in our what's called the canon. Our Bible is 66 books. There's different versions of the Bible, Catholics, Orthodox, non-denominational churches sometimes use a different version. All kinds of things that I could talk about. Again, these are meditations, 10 minutes. I'm not going to give you an exhaustive lecture every time, but I love to do something that you guys would like to hear about. I can see how many people view these videos, and it's usually around 20 to 25, sometimes more. But there's enough people that can send me your opinion as to what you may want to hear, and I'll decide from those that send me a vote as to what you would like me to cover. And if I don't hear from you, then I'll pick something that I like, and hopefully you'll like it too. So the day before the last day of the cross hunt, I guess it's Mother's Day, so my mom's been on my mind, and I chose this one that she gave me. It's stained glass, I think you would call it that, because it's connected by metal like a stained glass window, and it's got the colored glass. You can see through it. See, I want to talk about this cross because the poem I chose is about seeing the world from our heart, from the perspective of our heart and not our head. You know, I know you can't actually do that. I'm not well versed in anatomy, but I know that you can't actually see with your heart. But this is in line with what Jesus asks of us. Jesus in the scriptures is allegorical and poetic and asks us to consider things with using metaphor in the parables, and wants us to address and engage the world with our hearts, serving it, not with our heads, using reason to find ways for it to serve us. So, that is why I chose this cross. I think we can maybe put it in this way, that we are, as followers of Christ, to see the world through Christ-colored glasses. Is that one way we can put it? So that's what this poem that I've chosen speaks to. This is by Saint Theophan the Recluse. So I would almost guarantee that this is, he's an Orthodox, Greek Orthodox writer. He's a Greek Orthodox monk. Saint Theophan the Recluse. This is called Descend from Your Head into Your Heart. You must descend from your head into your heart. At present, your thoughts of God are in your head, and God himself is, as it were, outside you. And so your prayer and other spiritual exercises remain exterior. Whilst you are still in your head, thoughts will not easily be subdued, but will always be whirling about like snow in winter or clouds of mosquitoes in summer. And this is what editor of the book. Since we've only got a few more of these meditations, I want to remind you, these poems come from a book called For Lovers of God Everywhere, edited and compiled by Roger Housden. I highly recommend this work and any of his other ones. So this is his reflection on that poem. Saint Diodicus of Photicae, an Orthodox monk whose writings are included in the Philokalia, makes it clear in these lines how prayer is not an affair of the mind. As long as we talk to God in our head alone, He remains external to us, and our thoughts will continue to whirl about like mosquitoes. Our attention needs to descend into the heart, the center of our being, so that our prayer is authentic and not a mere litany of words. So in this description, we can see how the human mind can get in the way of our prayer life evolving towards this end goal of being able to experience unity with God, being with God, which is the ultimate aim, which is the invitation to be one with God like Jesus is one with God. And matter of fact, last Sunday, the scripture spoke to this, that Jesus says, I am one in the Father as I want you to be one in me. So we have this goal of this experience of unity with God. And as this poet explains, and certainly our author of Armchair Mystic, Father Thibodeau, agrees, that the mind can be a barrier because its job is to solve problems and to get the things that we need. That's one of the brain's main jobs. So when it doesn't have a problem apparent, it will find a problem. And this has benefited humanity. I'm not painting it as some kind of evil, that we have a problem and we put it in the hopper of our brain and it wants to solve things. That's why we've been so successful as a species. Our mind chews on problems and we solve them. But we're so used to that, and it's so the prevalent use of our mind, that when we sit down to pray, we can be distracted by all of these thoughts. And so I want you, this is just an illustration. Our prayer practice today will be an illustration of how, it's not an illustration, an example of how the mind can get in the way of prayer and can get in the way of our equanimity, our feelings of peace that we're also promised as followers of Jesus. But we can let our minds become a cloud of mosquitoes in summer, just buzzing and never stopping. So I just want you to notice, this is what we're going to do with our prayer practice today. So for 5 minutes, get in your armchair. All I want you to do is close your eyes and be quiet for 5 minutes, and focus on the breathing. Just wherever breath, whether your breath, you feel your breath. So if you're sitting breathing with your eyes closed, you breathe in, you may feel it at the back of your throat, or your nose, or maybe your upper lip, or your lungs, maybe that's where you feel it. Focus on just the feeling of your breath. And I want you to try to pay attention to that, but when you get distracted by thought and you lose focus on your breath, notice what it is, what type of thinking you're having. And you'll see, it'll be very apparent what your brain is doing, that you, from a different perspective, from one order of investigation back, you can look at what your brain is doing. I bet you'll be compiling a to-do list at one point. You'll be remembering or regretting something or wishing something could be different. You'll be desiring something. You'll be fantasizing about, I don't mean that in a sexual way. I mean it in a fantasies of all kinds, of winning the lottery, making trips to some paradise. The fantasies are desires and dreams that we have. So I want you to notice what all these things that your mind does. One of the aims of our prayer practice as we move into being with God is to let loose. You may have heard meditation as quieting the mind. That activity, speaks to like pressure and constraint. You got to, quiet the mind. Put away the thoughts. And when we do this, it can lead to even more thoughts. It's more of a letting go and kind of letting those thoughts drift away like balloons and just being in the moment. that's part of this idea of prayer as being with God. So that's your prayer practice today. Our second to last day of our cross hunt and prayer practice. Sit quietly for 5 minutes, eyes closed, focus on the breath, and notice how that mind works. The Zen monks that practice meditation call the mind a drunken monkey with its tail on fire. Just crazily hopping from branch to branch, thought to thought to thought. So I just want you to experience how much of an obstacle your brain is. It'll tell you things and look for problems even when their problems aren't there. So the peace of mind and the peace of the soul that Jesus promises us when we follow him. You can see the barrier to that and maybe experience for a second how nice it would be to let go of all those worries and anxieties and concerns and judgments and just be, and that you can just be with God, I think is my assumption and my experience in my prayer life. So that's what I want for y'all. So, a few announcements at the end. We still have not decided when we're going to gather together in person. It will not be next week or the week after. This coming week is the 17th of May, this coming Sunday. And then the next one is the 24th. So we won't gather on either two of those. It may be May 31st or June 7th. We will let you know. Stay tuned to these. I'll post a link to a recorded service by our national office. So you'll have a worship to watch. And so I'm going to take this Sunday off and just kind of find my own peace and equanimity, and then come back, hit the ground running on Tuesday with our new video meditation series. So there won't be a meditation on Friday or Saturday, but look for that link to the recorded worship on Sunday morning on our YouTube channel and the Facebook channel, and we're going to email that link to you like we've always done. But I've watched almost all of that worship. It's already recorded and sent to us from the National UCC office, and you're going to enjoy this. You're going to enjoy the music, seeing different people around the country that are leaders in the United Church of Christ. So please check that out. And thanks again. I don't know if I mentioned it yesterday. I think I did, because I found out I got the money donation amount wrong. It's